Today, we're going to take a closer look at street art, and specifically graffiti, the words and pictures you see painted on walls around the city. The first graffiti artists may have been the people who painted on the walls of caves in Europe and Indonesia as far back as 30,000 years ago. They painted what they knew best, the animals they hunted. People in ancient Greece and Rome wrote their names and political poems on buildings. While drawing and writing on walls goes back thousands of years, we usually consider the 1960s as the beginning of modern graffiti and street art. The first writers, which is the term that graffiti artists use to describe themselves, started in Philadelphia and soon spread to New York City. Early graffiti was simply letters or a name displayed in a public place, on buildings, bridges, or train cars. An artist or writer was successful if there were copies of his name, or tag, as they call it, in many places. They repeated the same design over and over again. Because these artists often painted on buildings without first asking the owners, police tried to catch them at work. So the artists had to move fast. To help them paint quickly, they used markers or cans of spray paint instead of regular paint and a paintbrush. The quality of the paint was poor, which caused the paint to run. It looked messy. The best writers knew how to control the can of spray paint. Later, the artists worked with the paint companies. The pressure in the can was too high at first. As a result, the paint came out too fast. The companies lowered the pressure in the can, which caused the paint to come out more slowly. Also, the top of the can, the rounded dome, was too high. Because of this height, artists couldn't get the paint close enough to the walls. Now the domes of some cans are much shorter, so artists can control the paint even more. Graffiti writers wanted the art to last longer, so they started to draw more complicated shapes and designs. If the drawing wasn't good quality, someone else would quickly paint over it. The artists knew their work was often temporary, but if other artists respected it, they left it alone. Eventually, some artists started to turn away from graffiti and towards more general street art. Let's see if there are any questions before I move on to street art.